Hey everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you are new here. Don't forget to subscribe. I like to post about books and music, mostly Taylor Swift. Okay, so I decided to do a reading vlog for The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I really wanted to read this. I've had this since 2020 when it came out, but I never read it. And now I really feel like I need to because I want to see the movie in theaters. I want to read the book first. But this guy's girthy. Like, he's literally over 500 pages. Also, can we talk about all the Hunger Games books have like this kind of like seal on the front? I just love that, the gold and the green. I love the color schemes of these, like black and gold, red and gold, and blue and silver. They just go together so well. So basically what I did was I already reread the full Hunger Games series. My mom marked them up when I was in middle school because I was notorious for losing my books. And she was like, if somebody is stealing them, now you can see. If they are reading it, it is yours. She put it on the front, the side, and the bottom. So I already reread those, and I wanted to just kind of like give a quick review of my thoughts on the original trilogy before launching into the reading vlog of The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, because these are a childhood favorite of mine, but sometimes childhood favorites don't always hold up. I recently reread Twilight when I was in college, and I definitely see why I liked it when I was 9, but it was a little bit of a rough ride, I'm not gonna lie. I think I prefer the Twilight movies at this point because you get done with it faster. It's very atmospheric, but like, yeah, the two main characters are kind of like the white bread version of people. However, the thing about the Hunger Games, this is literally my copy from when I was like 12. It's like dirty. Like, I think I read it outside. It's seen some stuff. It's been through some damage. I did not take care of my books when I was 12, but honestly, this shit holds up. Let me tell you, something about the pacing in especially this original first novel is stunning. The plot, like the way it moves, is just so perfect for keeping the reader engaged. It's such a page turner. It holds up. Also, I never really read the Hunger Games like for the romance. I was never like strictly Team Peeta or Team Gale or anything, but when I was rereading this, I was eating up that fake dating in a way I just didn't when I was 12. I don't know what it is, but I'm really into the like Peeta dynamic. Gale is giving a little bit like pick me. And then I saw a TikTok where somebody was comparing him to the song from the Barbie movie, I'm Just Ken, anywhere else I'd be a 10, you know. And Peeta just, I don't know, there's something about him and there's something about the fake dating that's just like getting me. At first it's a little icky because Katniss is not into it, but over time it's like, maybe it's also kind of like a trauma bond. I cried at scenes that I knew were coming, and yet they still affected me in the same way that they did when I was 12. And it's been 12 years. It was exactly half a lifetime ago that I read these, and I remembered a lot of what was going on, but it still affected me as if I was reading it for the first time. So this was definitely 5 out of 5 stars still to this day. Perfect, amazing, especially after, as some of you may know, I read the Shatter Me series recently, and that was like a dystopian YA vibe that was trying to kind of bank off of the success of the Hunger Games, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and it was so underdeveloped, and this is crazy. Like, it is YA, but it feels thought through. I'll go into more of that as I review the other books. And then we have Catching Fire. Something that's the most interesting, I think, about this series is the Hunger Games themselves, and that aspect of the novel start to diminish over time. Like, this has a Hunger Games setting taking place for like half of the book, while this one is like world building and Hunger Games, and it's very interesting. And the Hunger Games themselves don't take up as much time in this one, and I am so disgusted with myself at the fact that I find the games so entertaining. Like, God, if I was in the Capitol, I'd be completely eating this shit up. Like, I'm starving. It's very much just like reality TV type trash. I hate myself for being so entertained by it, but obviously it's fiction, so I get a pass. So this one I think is 4 stars, still really, really good, but just not as perfect as the original. That's usually what lends a 5-star rating for me, is the book actually perfect? Is there not a single thing I would change about it? And this one just like has amazing pacing still, but it falls a little bit towards the end. Something else that kind of made me think of the Shatter Me series was this one scene where Gale is being a little bit cringy. He's giving incel, and I kind of liked him a little bit in the Hunger Games. I was like, I could see why people would be Team Gale. He's got a bit of a best friendy vibe more than romantic, but I could see it, you know? And in this one, there's a scene where he's acting like Juliet was acting in the Shatter Me series, and Katniss was kind of acting like Adam. Like, she just wants to run away and keep her family safe. She is the little sister she needs to think about, much like Adam was thinking of his younger brother. And Gale also has siblings, but he just doesn't doesn't seem to be as concerned. He's more concerned with the future and future generations than his own siblings. But Gale, despite all of his multiple younger siblings, he wants to stay and fight and change the world. And incel or not, there is something admirable about that. But yeah, Katniss is the type of person who's been through a lot of trauma due to the games. And not saying that Gale hasn't or will not as the series goes on, but he is such a fighter, and Katniss needs therapy. She needs peace. I wrote down Katniss is giving Harry Potter, what with no one telling her they were planning to blow up the whole arena. She was so out of the loop. It was so Harry Potter, and Dumbledore not telling him anything. I love how she like comes out of the arena to find out all of the districts are rebelling though. Like I think that plot design was really interesting, and it's almost like her and all the other tributes that were in the arena who weren't aware of what was going on, like Peeta and Katniss for example. It's like they come out of like a sleep to find out like the world is changing so rapidly around them while they were stuck in the arena. So again, 4 out of 5, not as good as the first one, but still really good plot. It's the writing, and I think there's like symbolic moments, and that's what really makes it holding up for me. Whenever Katniss screams, "Fire is catching, if we burn, you burn with us," there's a lot of really iconic moments in this series. Just the writing style, all of it. And then we have the third and final book, Mockingjay. This does what everything that followed the Hunger Games that tried to capitalize off of the success of the Hunger Games Shatter Me series. It does what those couldn't. This is the original, this is the blueprint. They made Katniss the face of the revolution while having an actual qualified president as the real leader. In the Shatter Me series, they just have 17-year-old Juliet as the president. And it just feels so unrealistic. And it's like, I understand young adults, I need to manage my expectations. Like, is it bad writing, or am I like trying to order a milkshake from a Home Depot? I still really enjoy YA when it's well done. Like, there's a reason I loved this so much when I was younger. It's because it's well done. And I don't think I would have liked the Shatter Me series, even if I would have read it when I was younger originally. It just isn't as thought through. This is so thought through. You don't have to not think things through as a writer just because you're writing YA. But yeah, Katniss is kind of like, she serves the purpose of the marketing. The people really like her story. They really like how she speaks. So she does play a role in this revolution, but of course she's not the actual president because she's literally a 17-year-old girl. I admire that. There's a whole movement behind Katniss. She's just the marketing. So much more thought through and well done than the dystopia craze that Katniss inspired. She's the original. You can't recreate that, especially when you are turning into something that it wasn't. The thing about this pacing is that like the beginning and the middle were not snagging me as much as the ending and as much as the first two books. I think the pacing suffered a little bit because of like all the war stuff, but the writing I think is really great and insightful about war. It's just the pacing and the plot. Like I like how scenes are written, I like how dialogue is written, and I like the development of the characters, but yeah, it was a little bit slumpy for me. I thought the dynamic of Katniss feeling like she went from being used by the Capitol to just being used by the rebels was really interesting. Like she's this pawn and like she doesn't have this autonomy, and it feels like they're playing like ping pong with her as the face of something and trying to use, like, who is the real Katniss? You know what I mean? The people don't truly know this, that she's been used as the face of so many things at this point, and President Snow tried to manipulate her into like calming the rebels down, and that didn't work. Like she truly does not have control over the people, but it looks like she does. And I think that is partly due to the fact that she's literally a teenager. Like she's not this influential, well-versed politician. She was just a girl who was in the right place at the right time, and now people listen to her. But in all honesty, yeah, she feels used. And I think that's also an aspect that lends to her needing to find peace through a partner. And Gale is like this military guy, and obviously that's not gonna work. She even says at one point, do I choose the hunter or the baker? Like who's going to help me live a life that I want to after all of this is over? And then Katniss hesitates about who's the good side anyway, if they're both just wanting to kill children, because President Coin, who's the president of the rebellion, wants to like have a final Hunger Games because President Snow has a granddaughter, and like Katniss votes yes for it for her little sister. But then it seems she is struggling with this internally, because then she ends up just killing Coin when she was supposed to kill Snow. I have to say it was a little bit dissatisfying to not have her kill Snow as well, because after like Prim's death and everything, and I think it's really interesting that Prim is like cursed from the first page of the very first book. Katniss wakes up and she's not there. Foreshadowing. It had to happen, but it was still so depressing to finish this book, and that was such a well-written scene too, because she sees Prim and she's got the like shirt tail pulled out of her skirt in a way that she hadn't since the very first book when they called her name at the reaping, because Katniss was saying she saw her little sister growing up so much during this book, the second one, Catching Fire, and then right before she dies, we see her reverting back to her childhood self, and like the last thing she says before she's killed is Katniss's name. It's just like so symbolic, the way things are written, the way deaths are written. This was also 4 out of 5. I guess if I was a half-star rating type of person, the first would be 5, the second would be 4.5, and the third would be 4. All very strong books, above average. I thought I was going to rate it a 3 stars until the ending, which made it pick up. I honestly really enjoyed the epilogue. I'm not sure how people feel about that, if people liked it or hated it. I know a lot of people didn't like the Harry Potter epilogue, for example. I felt fine about that one, but I really actually appreciated this one because I think it showed a good portrayal of how people grow after going through something like this, like the children of the parents who survived a war and how they don't understand, they don't realize what their parents have been through. It also was dissatisfying that Gale and Katniss don't even stay friends, but obviously she can never look at him and not see Prim's death, and that, like, fuck, it's so depressing. How's she ever going to move on from this? It's like the deepest, worst hurt. But yeah, Gale ends up taking a military job at the end anyways. Katniss needs peace, so she stays with Peeta, tying back into her dilemma of like, do I choose the hunter or do I choose the baker? And Peeta just sounds so peaceful as a person, like they literally call him the boy with the bread. Like, it's interesting because I think Gale truly would have killed for Katniss, and Peeta is more of like bringing things to her. I don't know, they're such different characters and they're so well developed. But yeah, it was honestly a very depressing ending, and rereading this as an adult, I did find myself way more curious than I was before about how we got to this point, because I think it's stated at some point that this takes place 350 years in the future, and I do wonder so much, like, how did America fall? How did the United States just descend into this? And I think that's what we're going to be getting here. So I've already started The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I'm almost 100 pages in, and it's a lot of backstory on President Snow, and he's like despicable, so I know we're supposed to like hate him, obviously, because after reading all 3 of those, you know what I mean? And I was debating whether to start my reread with this or end it. I ended up going with ending it because it feels like a conclusion, even though it happens before the original trilogy. Yeah, finding out the backstory, how this started, and there's references to people in the original trilogy, like their ancestors, that I think I wouldn't have remembered if I wouldn't have reread the original trilogy first. But yeah, we've basically just seen President Snow as an 18-year-old. He is, among his classmates, a mentor for one of the tributes of the 10th annual Hunger Games. I thought this was going to be the very first ever Hunger Games, but I guess those were kind of boring and they needed to like develop it a little bit more because they didn't even have mentors at that point. So Snow gets assigned to the girl from District 12, and after reading the trilogy, Haymitch is the only one who won from District 12 until Katniss and Peeta, right? So like, she's definitely gonna die, right? But it's like, she is like Katniss in a lot of ways. Her name is Lucy Gray. She's catching the audience's attention a ton, and Snow is trying to like capitalize and bank off of this, and he is like a heartless individual, but he has these moments of like, you know, he's becoming friendly with this girl and she's trusting him, but he's gonna have to lose her at the end. And I don't want to feel bad for him. This is literally like his fault and his people's fault. I like Lucy as a character though. She dropped a snake down somebody's dress when she got called in the reaping, and then sang a whole song, and it was this very dramatic show. And I guess they literally keep the tributes in a zoo for people to see before they actually fight each other in the arena. And that's interesting because after the trilogy, we see that they're kind of treated like royalty before they go to die. But I guess in the original Hunger Games, they were like herded up. I think they were tied up on a train and transported to the capital, thrown in a zoo, not fed well. And in all of the other Hunger Games books, much later in the future, the tributes are eating so fucking well like they never have before. They're given like amazing quarters to live in until they go actually do the Hunger Games. It's like their last hurrah before they actually die. It's an interesting history, but I'm gonna keep reading and updating you. I really wanted to get through this book this year because I fell into the trap of thinking that Taylor Swift was going to write another song for this final movie for the Hunger Games, or supposedly final, but it looks like she's not, or I don't know, do we even have a soundtrack out yet? It's coming out next month. I'm reading this in October. Hopefully I'm wrong and we get a new Taylor Swift Hunger Games song, because Eyes Open and Safe and Sound are some of the best in her discography. I will not be taking criticism. So yeah, I'm going to go take my makeup off and read some more. I'll update you when I have more thoughts. I think this is the longest book in the entire series, which is so interesting. as like the antagonist villain origin story. It's very detailed. I hope it doesn't take too long to read, but yeah, the pacing's pretty good. I was a little bit nervous because 500 something pages I thought would be a lot of reading about a character that we hate. So I'll see you when I have more to say. Oh, something else I found interesting that I wrote down. I said it's so interesting that Snow was 10 when the Hunger Games started and he was 83 when they ended and he died. Like, he is really a symbol of the whole autocracy despite not having anything to do with its beginning due to him being a child. I think maybe I kind of had this idea that he might have had something to do with how it started, but obviously he was a kid, but he's still a symbol of that despite all of it not being his fault. But he's also a product of his grandmother, and we see that through this prequel because he lost both of his parents in the war and she kind of was in charge of him, and that may not have been for the best. He's also poor. He had like a poor as hell upbringing and he was like trying to hide it. Just sus all around from the beginning. So it's the next day and I have a little bit of an update. I'm past 150 pages and Coriolanus, I don't know if I'm saying his first name correctly, President Snow, 18 years old, mentoring Lucy Gray. They are becoming close and she's trusting him, and he's the only mentor who has a good relationship with his tribute. And they're like flirting, like Snow and Lucy. I guess maybe she could win if like she is already dead because she would be in like her 80s by the time Katniss is a tribute. So if Haymitch is the only one who won and is still alive, but I don't know, I feel like they specified that Haymitch was the only one ever from District 12 who won. So unfortunately, I think this is going to end very badly, and my prediction is that like Snow loses Lucy and then like that's his villain origin story. He's like, what's the point? I don't know. I don't understand how they're going to turn him into like this crazy villain. I mean, he's kind of snobby. He's really not a likable character, but like he turns into such a monster and he's like bonding with Lucy as a tribute and like feeling for her. Also, it's incredibly interesting how they've already lost so many tributes because they won't feed them. They keep them in a zoo. They're all like starving and fainting. They bombed them suddenly. We just started part 2. I haven't read any of part 2 yet, and a bunch of the tributes and their mentors just got bombed, and I'm really confused about that. Like, now they have barely any tributes left and the Hunger Games haven't even started. And it's really interesting in contrast to how we saw the modern day Hunger Games happening, where like they were trying to prevent them from committing, you know? But in the early days, they would literally like weed them out before the games even started. This is so weird. It's also strange to me because they're having it in an arena that's like not blocked off. I'm picturing like a football stadium. Like, it's not like the arena that was in the movies. Primitive as hell. I can't imagine there's like parachutes. They don't even really have sponsors yet at this point. They do have drones that are doing things, but it's not the actual arena with the force field and everything like it is in modern Hunger Games. Yeah, it's very, very character driven and a little bit slow paced, which is in contrast a lot to the original 3 books. I think we're getting a lot of psychological evaluation of President Snow as a teenager, which I'm not complaining. It's just kind of slow and it's kind of long, but I think it will be worth it. We'll see. I have no idea how I'm going to rate this because I have like 400 pages left, so there's no telling where this could go. But Lucy's feeling hopeful. She thinks she might actually have this in the bag because like half the tributes are dead anyways, and some people are calling for them to do another reaping to get more tributes because they don't have the 24 that they need to start. But I guess that wasn't as important back in the day. It's weird, but like I'm rooting for her, but I don't have my hopes up because it seems no one's ever won from District 12 until Haymitch. This is gonna hurt. I like her as a character. I kind of wish it was from her point of view though, because Snow is trash. She's like the original Katniss. So we're watching the beginning of the like first talent shows happening, and Coriolanus gives Lucy a guitar and she sings a song about her entire life, and it's about how she has like this lover and like, oh my god, what is he gonna do when she goes to her grave, because she's going sooner rather than later because of the Hunger Games. She doesn't think she's gonna win, and Coriolanus hears her perform this song and is like thinking he should be so excited because this gives her a leg up against all the other tributes, but what he really felt was jealous. Oh my god, it's like they're doing a love thing. He falls in love with a tribute. That doesn't make any sense for the real Snow. I want this villain origin story. I want the climax, but I have like hundreds of pages left. This shit is dark. They have a veterinarian to take care of the tributes, not a doctor. Also, Lucy and Snow kissed. I think I know what's going to happen. This is his villain origin story, and I'm gonna be sad. If he'd have just stood up, if he'd have just been as brave as Katniss, it's so frustrating. Like decades more Hunger Games happened. Also, one of the tributes ran away, and I was like, he's gonna go after people in the Capitol. Like, I was like, this isn't the last we've heard of him. They like strung him up in the arena right as the Hunger Games started. They thought he was dead at first. Like, they just like propped his corpse up as an example, but he's like barely alive, I guess. I don't know. This is brutal. Okay, the games are finally over. My hair is a mess, but I'm now making progress. It's thick and it's so character driven. It's slow paced, which is fine. I'm really liking how much focus they're putting on character development, but she fucking won. She won the 10th Hunger Games, Lucy Gray. I feel like maybe I should have been able to predict that, but as she got further and further along, I was like, they're gonna make it so she dies like second, like she'll be very close, and then something super symbolic will happen with her and Reaper, who's the like was her main competition, but she outsmarted all of them. Even though she wasn't the strongest or fastest, she was the most clever. And Coriolanus, President Snow, he got caught helping her. He did some things that were against the rules, such as like sneaking food from the banquet room or whatever into the arena, which was not allowed. He dropped Lucy's handkerchief in the snake tank so that the snakes would recognize her scent and not attack her, and she ended up singing to the snakes. So I don't know if that even really helped her or if it was just her voice that like entranced them, but yeah, she fucking did it. And now Coriolanus got sent off to be a peacekeeper, and he chose District 12. He's trying to go find her. He can't find her yet. He's gonna be sentenced there for 20 years, so his grandma's definitely gonna die by the time he gets back. Tigris, his older cousin, has to stay in the capital. They ended up having to sell their house because the new tax law, they can't afford it. Things are going just like so horribly downhill so fast, and I feel bad for him. But this is a villain origin story, so I can only imagine this is going to get worse. We have a lot left to go though, so maybe things will get better. No, they won't, because he turns into President Snow. It's just disappointing because I know it's gonna get so much worse. I just don't know how, and I want to keep reading, but it takes so long. I'm getting kind of salty because I have a feeling it's gonna go in a way where he's like so bitter about what happened, where he got accused of like cheating or whatever, that he's gonna like enforce the games for decades and decades to come once he takes power. Like, because if he suffered through it, so does everyone else. Like one of those old people who's like, because I didn't have it good, all the future generations can't either. And that's really disappointing, but I don't see how else this could end. I'm so excited to see the movie. There's so many cool scenes. They're gonna have to cut a lot out because it's so long, but yeah, there's a lot of cool scenes that I can't wait to see how they adapt those. I need a nap. I'm exhausted. Lucy Gray is related to Katniss, isn't she? They're two alike. The singing, Katniss's father was a singer. Katniss herself sang well. I'm connecting the dots. I've connected them.
I've connected the two dots.
You didn't connect shit, but
I've connected them.
Is that what it's about to reveal? Hold on. Okay, maybe not, but I think we just got the origins of the Hanging Tree song. Someone was just executed and he's yelling, "Run, run, Lil, run." This is the origins of the Hanging Tree song. Is Lucy gonna write the song? Oh my god, my mind is blown right now. Coriolanus is like Controlianus. He's like jealous while she's performing in this bar in District 12. He sees her finally for the first time since getting sent to be a peacekeeper, and he's like, oh my god, everyone loves her so much. And then it's like, that could be a problem. I mean, are we surprised though? We saw him in the original 3 books. I cannot wait for the movie to bring these songs to life. There are so many lyrics that Lucy is singing in this book, and I'm so excited to hear what it actually sounds like. I'm imagining melodies, kind of, but I just want to hear what they come up with. I predicted the Hanging Tree song. She wrote it! Oh my god. Now to find out if she's actually related to Katniss, because that's my next guess. Doesn't she have the blue eyes, or the gray eyes, and the olive skin and the dark hair? Lucy is so cool. I don't understand how she fell for Coriolanus's whiny ass. He's so possessive. Like, I can't. The way he thinks about her, well, I guess he doesn't vocalize that. I don't know. It still feels like she's so way too good for him. We'll probably see that unfold more very soon. I hate the way I relate to, oh, look at Princess. I hate the way I relate to Coriolanus's excellence in test taking. That's something I relate to in the way he describes it. One of his greatest talents and the familiar rush of excitement as he opened the cover of his booklet. He loved the challenge, and his obsessive nature meant almost instant absorption into the mental obstacle course. 3 hours later, sweat-soaked, exhausted, and happy, he handed in his booklet. Only 3 hours? My ACTs were 5. Are you kidding me? And that was literally just to maybe get into a college, not even to be accepted yet. Oh my god, test taking in the future sounds lit. I find it interesting that Coriolanus, I still can't say his name, he calls his grandmother the grandmam, and he calls Sejanus's mother Ma. Like, not the Ma, just Ma, as if she's his own. That's wild. Okay, he did just refer to Sejanus's mom as your Ma to him, but in his head he calls her Ma. Why is he hiding that? Why is he not saying thank goodness for Ma to Sejanus? What does it mean? Maybe I'm just grasping at straws here. Okay, I'm going to do some work and then go to bed. Finally, I was falling asleep earlier, as you saw. Coriolanus is gonna rat out Sejanus after everything he and his family did for Coriolanus. Traitor piece of shit. God, I bet that's gonna be what ends his thing with Lucy. Like, he rats Sejanus out and Lucy sees him as the shit person and friend that he is. It's not that she's going to die, it's that he's going to reach his full terrible potential and be fully developed as the Snow we know and hate, and Lucy is exceptional. I mean, honestly, she wrote the Hanging Tree song, she has morals. I just hate that Coriolanus was so overjoyed to see Sejanus as a peacekeeper with him, and now that he has no use for him, he wants him out of his hair. They fucking hung Sejanus. What a little bitch. Oh my god, and Lucy is like fine with it? I'm getting freaked out. They're running away now because Lucy thinks they're onto her for killing the mayor's daughter when it was really Coriolanus who did that, but everybody's weirded out by the Covey. I feel like Snow is gonna kill her. They're hiding out in the shed and I'm getting so anxious. He's having these thoughts and he's not talking much and she just keeps the conversation going. He's giving serial killer. I'm like so freaked out right now. Girl, run. Shit, is this what the meaning of the title is? Songbirds and snakes. He's a snake, she's a songbird. And the snake kills this. Oh my god, I'm like shaking. It's like foreshadowing. She said she doesn't want to die in District 12 and it's all this like death stuff. Is this her last day? And then they find weapons in the shed. This is like, and it's so drawn out. We have pages and pages left. My anxiety can't deal with this. He agreed to run away with her, but he wants to go back to the base because he got into officer school and he's getting sent to District 2 to do that. He just checked to see if the gun is loaded. I'm not okay. And he's looking for her because she's looking for Katniss, the plant, not actual Katniss, obviously, because she hasn't been born yet. Holy fuck, the symbolism. Okay, so he didn't kill her. He lost her. She ran from him. She knew what was happening. And she sang the Hanging Tree song and all the birds picked it up, so it got really loud and he couldn't hear her. So he went back to the base and he felt his father's presence with him, his asshole father. And right when he gets back, he notices his mother's rose-scented powder that he's been keeping since he lost her is like ruined from the lake water. So this is like him letting go of his last bit of his mother, his last tie to her, like his decent mother. This character development. This is crazy. Holy fuck, they erased the 10th Hunger Games, so no one can ever watch it. That's why they think Haymitch is the only one who won from District 12. My mind is being blown right now. Fuck, they were kidding. When they sent him to the Peacekeepers, it was only for the summer to like have him learn, and then he just got his full ride into the university, and it all works out for Snow. I'm like baffled. Okay, time for the epilogue. Sejanus's parents are adopting him because they don't know what to do without their son. They adopted his murderer. Snow is like, what's that type of bird that kills other birds young to put their own into that nest so that those parents raise their kid instead? He's like that bird. This is fucked. And he still looks down on Sejanus's parents for being from the district, even after all this. He has no conscience. He's a sociopath. Some screws are freaking loose. He's having a whole conversation with the dean about how he and Coriolanus' father were friends. His father manipulated Dean into coming up with the Hunger Games. He got him drunk and like stole his idea. This is crazy. So it's genetic, the psychopathy. Snow's like, if we get children to kill each other, like they're the most innocent of us, doesn't that mean our essential nature is violent? This is just like too fucked up for me. what the fuck? I need to sit on this. I'll talk about it tomorrow. He killed another person. That was the fastest paced epilogue to the most slow paced story. I have a gross feeling. That was like stunning. I'm so disturbed. Okay, I've slept on it. The hair is going a little bit crazy. It's not in a good state. There's literally spilled food on my shirt that I'm trying very hard to keep at a frame. Don't come for me if it appears, because I have a lot of thoughts. I'm not going to be thinking about the food stain on my shirt. I slept on it. This is a 5 out of 5 stars, and I don't give those out frequently. I think this is the 4th 5 out of 5 that I've read this year. Another one of them being the very first Hunger Games, which I think I talked about in my review at the beginning of this video. Something about this was just everything that I wanted. There's no critiques, you know? I love a good villain origin story. A lot of people are talking about this like it's some kind of redemption arc. I think people are not reading it. I knew as I was reading, I was like, this is definitely going to be a 4-star, but then the ending, there were so many things happening, very quick character development that we were kind of building on the entirety of the novel. Shit was making sense, shit was falling into place like dominoes. There was a lot of planning, a lot of character buildup for most of this book. It's thick, you feel like it's dragging a little bit, but I understand why this author made every decision she did in this book, and my 4th 5 out of 5 this year. And I also watched some TikToks about it to see what other people were thinking after reading it. It seems that a lot of people have a lot of beef with the trailer and with this book because they haven't read it. They think it's a redemption arc. They think it's some kind of knockoff. This is literally the beginning of why we are where we are. We see the Hunger Games taking shape as what we know them as, you know, because it starts off where the tributes have no incentive really to win. They are treated like shit from the second they step foot in the Capitol. A bunch of them die before the Hunger Games even start. Like, it's just a wreck. And we see what role Snow plays in that. And also, there are so many things in this novel that make sense in the context of the first 3 books. Well, I guess this is the first book, technically. Little hints of things that happen in the future that we see why Snow does some of the things he does in the original trilogy. For example, when he is talking to Katniss in, I think it was Catching Fire, and he says, I need you to convince me that you love Peeta. And he said he knew about the kiss with Gale. You know, you're kind of reading this thinking, why would this president concern himself with these kinds of dramas? It's because it reminds him so much of what happened to him when Lucy went back to District 12 and she had like a past lover there. Like, Katniss is so much Lucy, and I do have a feeling they're related. Maybe not very directly, but I feel like maybe her cousin Maud, I think was her name. That could be like Katniss's grandmother or something. I don't know, but I feel like there's familial ties because there's just way too many similarities. And why Snow has so many issues with Katniss, and it makes me wonder if Suzanne Collins knew she was going to do this all along. That's so much planning to have Snow react the ways he did in the first 3 books because she knew all of this about him before she even sat down to write this. That's so interesting. This has so much symbolism. I'm so haunted by what happens with Lucy. Like, does she actually run off and make a life for herself somewhere north? Because we, I think, still canonically to this day don't know what's going on in other civilizations outside of Panem. Is there a Canada? Like, what's going on up there? What's going on super down low where like Mexico is / was? There's got to be other people out there, but they act like there's not. Or did Lucy actually get shot by Coriolanus and he just didn't know? Like, what's going on with her? But that's so cool because we have that foreshadowing towards the middle of the book where they're singing that song about Lucy Greybeard, the song that Lucy was named after, and it's a mystery song, and it's like, that's exactly what happens to her. I don't know. I was really mind blown by so many things this author was doing in this book. So much planning, so much attention to detail. I really enjoyed this. I feel like that might be the unpopular opinion, but I'm so excited to see the movie because I want to see some of these songs put to a melody, because some of them I could kind of imagine in my head and hear them, but others I was like, God, how are they going to sing this? What kind of performances? I really hope this actress really brings this character to life. I love Lucy. She's so fun and interesting, and she deserves so much better. This is like nuts. And the way Snow had so many opportunities to not turn into what he did, so you like hate him so much more after this book. Like, you kind of understand how he got to the point he's in when he has been the president for decades. What a piece of shit. He had so many chances to do essentially what Katniss did. Like, he had paths laid in front of him time and time again, and opportunities to like redeem himself. There were so many things he got away with where he could have just like quit while he was ahead, but he just became a piece of shit. And I love the psychology kind of interwoven into this story, how Snow becomes such a sociopath. And I read this review where someone was saying in the very beginning of the book, he is very unlikable, but he has a few redeemable qualities. And by the end of the novel, those are completely stripped away, never to be seen within this character again. And it's like, it's just so, I mean, it's very much a tragedy. Like, you know exactly what's going to happen because this was released so far after the books. I'd like to see someone's perspective who starts the Hunger Games completely blind and starts it with this book. That would be so interesting. You just can't look away. It's like a car crash. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with this, but I just am. I love the psychology. I love the build-up. I love all the different characters and the way those characters even gave him chances time and time again, and he just didn't take them. Tigress, gosh, that was insane. What a freaking story. And the way she like sold herself to get money for her and Snow just used this and like looked down at her for this, and then went on to like sell the bodies of tributes who had won. What is wrong with him? He's giving serial killer. If you really like true crime sort of stories that focus on why horrible people are horrible, you would really like this. Just the mental diving of it all. I still, even though I slept on this and I can kind of formulate my opinions and sentences now way better than I could yesterday, I still am just like, I need to really sit on this and think about it. I know I love it. I know for sure it'll continue to be a 5 out of 5, but I feel like the ways in which I love it are going to continue to unravel as time goes on, especially after seeing the film probably. I'll likely be making more connections. I can't wait to see the film. Oh my god, I can't believe I have to wait a month. Yeah, I could not recommend this more. You know, sometimes there are spin-offs or sequels or prequels that aren't really worth your time, but this one is. It's psychologically insanity. I honestly would be so open to reading more books that are spun off from the Hunger Games world, maybe like Haymitch, or honestly, I would read anything Suzanne Collins puts out, particularly if it's within the Hunger Games universe, because I just think this is amazing. This is amazing. I would love to hear all of your thoughts on this novel down in the comments, and don't be afraid to like share your opinion if it's negative, because I'm so open to hearing other people's reviews and thoughts. I'm very open-minded. I will not attack you. I've been reading so many reviews still because I think it's so cool what people both love and hate about this book. Most haters who actually took the time to read the whole thing say it is just slow. It does drag. It is very slow paced, which is not usually something I like. I like a lot of action. I like really fast pacing, but I like the way it built up. I see why she did that. As I said, I think it needed to be done in that way. It's a freaking wild ride, man. I think those are all my thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to follow me on my Instagram, it is right here. And if you want to follow me on my TikTok, where I do other little short form book content videos and book wrap-ups, you can follow me there. It'll be right here. I will see you all next week for another video, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye, guys.